Hi, I'm Ken Steele. Welcome to another 10 with Ken. A year ago, we took a look back at some well-known cautionary tales in higher ed branding, such as the University of Waterloo's Laser Light W logo from 2008, or from 2012, the University of California System's toilet logo. Spoiler, both attempted rebrands were spectacular failures. In our global survey of recent higher ed redesigns, we came across a dozen that sparked a backlash from stakeholders, often resulting in a stalled or aborted rebranding. Sometimes the new logos deserved what they got. This week we'll start with a look at 6 higher ed brand misfires that really should have known better. Let's take 10 and take heed. 10 with Ken is an almost weekly look at higher ed news, trends, innovations, and bright ideas, in and out of the classroom. Brought to you by Eduvation. Out of the 100 most recent higher ed rebrandings, there are a dozen that you would have to call controversial. Faculty and students launched social media campaigns and online petitions against the new identities. Alumni protested. Embattled communicators and design firms tried to defend their new logos. A third of the time, the administration backed down and abandoned the proposed new identities. So overall, odds that a higher ed rebrand will spark a backlash sit at about 1 in 10. For universities or four-year colleges, it's 2 in 10. For community colleges, it's virtually nil. And for arts institutes, it's more like 5 in 10, half the time. That's partly because their students, faculty, and alumni are artists and designers who are quite particular about visual design. But it's also because their institutions often try the most unusual or radical design solutions for their new identities. The most daring logo designs in higher ed typically get smacked down hard. When it comes to university brands, there's a fine line between daring and disastrous. Consider Loughborough University in the East Midlands of England. This public research university has more than 17,000 students and dates back more than a century to 1909. It ranks well for engineering and technology programs, and Times Higher Ed recently recognized it for the best student experience. So what on earth happened in 2015? Loughborough unveiled a new visual identity in April 2015 that was a radical departure from its previous identity, a conservative, almost traditional shield. The new design featured a hot pink octagon, virtually a stop sign, containing simply the letters LU. Any logo that simply repeats an organization's initials is taking the lazy way out, but this was just too much for Loughborough students.
First you need to find a cutting edge shape, something modern and sporty like a UFC octagon. Make it pink, obviously, then pick a font that everyone loves, Comic Sans will do nicely, whack that in the middle, done, and there you go. That's quick.
Students started the inevitable petition to protest the new logo at change.org, eventually gathering almost 13,000 signatures. Not bad for a school of just 17,000. Wait, actually that is bad. 76% bad. On social media, critics mused that the new logo seemed more appropriate for a low-fat yogurt or a sexual lubricant. Even the administration had to realize that the new logo was a big step backward for a research university. Just too radical for that oh-so-conservative market. 5 months later, after a summer of discontent, Loughborough ditched the hot pink and unveiled a new, much more conventional shield logo, based on the institution's historic coat of arms. You really can't go wrong sticking with the College of Heralds. Across the Atlantic, Emerson College also got itself into hot water over a too radical new brand identity. With campuses in downtown Boston and Los Angeles, Emerson is devoted to communication and the arts in a liberal arts context. With programs in marketing, media, and the visual arts, it can be considered an arts institute. In April 2016, after 3 years of consultation, Emerson proudly unveiled a preliminary new visual identity that featured a large, hand-drawn cursive E. The mark, they explained, was traditional yet modern, bold yet elegant, and emphasized Emerson's human community of creativity. It wasn't quite final yet, but the administration said they had a lot of confidence in it. Students weren't sold. A student, naturally, leaked the campus presentation with a photo on social media, and the protest was immediate.
Yeah, it's not a joke. This is actually the new logo. So we're going to ask students what they think about this new, beautiful work of art that the school paid thousands of dollars for.
It's a line. Oh.
Why? I just want to know why.
I think the child that designed it did a really great job.
Harold in the purple crayon.
This is a glorified scribble.
Breast cancer.
Breast cancer or something like that.
Breast cancer.
Like a ribbon, like maybe a breast cancer ribbon or something?
Okay, I grant you, the logo is not brilliant. But the stationery suite suggests a serif type word mark, with the swoosh E mainly as a background watermark. Even on mock-up posters, the E is a framing device or a border graphic more than it is a logo. Nonetheless, the embattled administration got defensive. Emerson College President Lee Pelton took a hardline stance against the protesters. It's not American Idol, he insisted. You can't vote on it. He lamented the way in which incomplete information about the redesign was leaked early, in a way that distorts and prevents intelligent people from developing informed decisions, opinions, or perspective. Despite the administration's defense, a year later, Emerson is still using its former logo. I suspect the crayon logo is dead. Institutions with visual arts, design, or media programs naturally seem to have the highest expectations when it comes to a new visual identity. Consider the Ravensbourne College of Design and Communication in London, England. Prior to 2010, their logo looked a lot like the symbol for a registered trademark. Not entirely inappropriate, but awfully dull. But in 2010, Ravensbourne was excited to be relocating into a purpose-built building, clad with 30,000 anodized aluminum tiles. For better or worse, designer Johnson Banks decided to try to capture a sense of movement and restlessness using the 3 tile shapes of the building as a visual device. The new identity shattered the word Ravensbourne into 3 fragments. The approach did show a bit of promise in photographic applications, but the logo itself was mangled and unpronounceable, with amateurish typography and shading that made it impractical. There was, of course, an online petition to get rid of it, but Ravensbourne stubbornly kept the new logo for 6 years. Finally, in June 2016, Ravensbourne unveiled a much more professional and conventional brand identity. Like the University of Suffolk, the new Ravensbourne logo is based on a square with a diagonal line, which subtly suggests a crest. But Ravensbourne's opens up like an elastic container to frame a wide range of photographs and illustrations representing the scope of creativity at the institution. It lends itself to some creative campus signage, too. Of course, the approach isn't entirely original. We've talked before about the new identity for Toronto's OCAD University, designed by Bruce Mao in 2011. Using architectural features of the distinctive OCAD building, the new logo provided a frame for student art. Although some students initially mocked Ravensbourne's new identity, the design and the administration have proven resilient. But it's not just the daring, overly ambitious university rebrands that meet with resistance. Sometimes an uninspired new design will spark some well-deserved opposition. IE University has 4 campuses across Spain. It's a private business school owned by Instituto de Empresa, whose name translates into English as business school. Not an auspicious start. IE presents itself as the best school in the world in open programs, and heavily promotes its new WOW room, which allows a professor to teach 150 students simultaneously all over the world. Its visual identity began as a monogram I intersecting E, decorated with a single olive branch. Over time, the monogram was simplified and the olive branch modernized until, weirdly, it became a squiggle, more suggestive of a birthday party streamer. Were they trying to say they were a party school? After that disastrous decision, it made sense that IE revised its identity in late 2016 to eliminate the squiggle entirely. But the new logo was about as plain as one could imagine. Students predictably mounted a petition at change.org to get rid of the new logo. It attracted 869 signatures. They complained that it looked childish, cheap, ugly, and diminished the school's reputation. They weren't wrong. Ultimately, the petitioners claimed a victory of sorts because the administration apologized for the lack of consultation, but the boring new logo continues to be used. A new brand identity in Connecticut met with substantial opposition from students and faculty as well. Quinnipiac University at the foot of Sleeping Giant State Park can trace its origins back almost 90 years. It's just been since the 1990s, though, that Quinnipiac has grown its professional schools in law, business, and medicine, and acquired the university label. Quinnipiac's logo had been an elegant serif wordmark in small caps for years when the administration announced a rebranding in summer 2016. The proposed redesign was still a word mark in largely lowercase type, using an overweight 1970s style typeface with some stencil-like breaks in the letter forms. The resulting logo appeared dated, informal, and utterly unmemorable. It's astounding to think that this was created by internationally renowned branding agency Pentagram in New York. Moreover, the letter breaks created an uninterrupted series of 8 minims that impaired legibility. The most interesting aspect of the word mark was the initial letter Q and its double cut and triple cut variants. Incredibly, the administration defended the new logo as sophisticated, bold, transformative, ambitious, and globally minded. Students weren't sold. When classes returned to campus in September, students started a Change.org petition, naturally, which garnered almost 1,200 signatures. Their primary complaint was that the word university should be capitalized to be grammatically correct. Although frankly, capitalization is the least of this logo's problems.
I think the lowercase u is extremely stupid. It just doesn't balance right. I don't care if they're trying to emphasize something, it just looks dumb.
Students and faculty complained that the logo looks like crap, and that this is a university, not a froyo shop. One let his own capitalization run amok to make his point. The Capitalize This campaign gained national media attention, mainly because it was positioned as a criticism of a university for making a grammatical mistake. By February, Quinnipiac relented somewhat and unveiled a revised wordmark that reduced the second word to all caps. The author of the petition claimed complete victory. The administration didn't mention the student petition or the capitalization issue. They simply explained that the previous version had given too much weight to the word university, and that they had achieved additional design knowledge. Okay. Quinnipiac's VP brand strategy, Keith Rhodes, told Inside Higher Ed that to comment on the case of letters in a wordmark seems arbitrary, given the level of disruption that higher education will experience over the next 10 years. You know, as a general rule of thumb, it's likely to spark outrage whenever a university logo becomes less formal. All the more reason that your concept needs to be creative, your typography professional, and your design polished. Thanks for taking 10 with me. We're not quite finished with this look at recent branding misfires. Join me next week when we look at the 6 other rebrands that sparked outrage and opposition, whether they deserved it or not. To be sure you don't miss it, take a moment now to join more than 13,000 10 with Ken subscribers and followers on any of a dozen platforms. You'll find links to all these channels and an email subscription form on our website at 10withken.com. Thanks again for watching. I hope to see you next time. 10 with Ken is a production of Eduvation Inc., copyright 2017. I'm available for conference keynotes, campus PD events, board retreats, and committee workshops, in person or now virtually too. For more information, please visit www.eduvation.guru or 10withken.com.